We got Karen Salvaggio. Karen is really not a step down from Joe. So, Karen, if you want to come up.
Thank you, George. I stand before you. Undoubtedly, there's so many lucky people in this room that we get to do this, right? I mean, it's like amazing that we get to do this. But I, beyond a doubt, am the luckiest person on the planet. I actually have a connection to cystic fibrosis and obviously to Cobras. Some of you have read about all this stuff I do with cars and racing. But honestly, you know what they say, if you want to make $1 million in racing, you start with 3, because that's all you're going to have left. It's a big dark hole. So my real life, I spent 25 years in public education, all the way from substitute teacher, and I retired as a superintendent of schools. I gave my life to public education on that side professionally. And I was also lucky enough to serve as director of special education, and I will tell you that we get to work with the kids and the families who have the greatest challenges there is. And let's face it, it's a tough life out there right now. But when you're struggling with health, when you're struggling with finances, when you're struggling with the things that are closest to your heart or your kids, there is nothing better than what happens with what you do here. So for me to be here, I'm thankful. I'm very thankful. So I know that we have a video. Thank you. You know what, Adam? I love you. Yeah. You're amazing. So anyway, thank you for what you do for CF. I know Jenny. I know Dave. There's so many kids and families that you're making a difference for, and it really matters. So I'm going to hopefully, I don't know, I don't have screen one, but I'm actually local. I grew up in Pittsburgh. A lot of people. Yeah, you know, when I was growing up, Flashdance was like, I was going to be her. I was going to be Jennifer Beal, you know. Anyway, when I grew up, it didn't quite look like that, though, because I was born in 1956. I want to thank, I'm going to tell you about Frank Winship. Frank Winship, first day I get here, I'm like, dude, I have got to find a post office. He's like, why the hell do you have to find a post office? I'm like, I have my very first Medicare premium that I need to get mailed. And I have got to get it in the mail by like the 25th. So, dude, God bless you, Frank. You took me, and we got to the post office. I want to also thank Gary Bob. I have some great photos, Gary, later for our adventures. But Gary came and picked me up at the airport because I flew in. I live in, wait. Okay, you put down the spears and the torches. I live in California. I'm so sorry. I grew up there, though, so my heart is there. There are actually some sane people out there on the left coast, so don't think it's totally gone. We just happen to be not on the majority. But really, like we do believe in personal responsibility, and there's some good stuff we could talk about. But I grew up very, very middle class. My grandfather was a steel worker, and you know, we come from just good old solid, work your butt off, Eastern European ethic, you know, like you just get out there and work. So, anyway, when I was growing up, okay, there is a gene that lives in, a lot of you guys have it, and some of you girls have it too. Where's Mary? Mary, you have the same gene. It's the car gene, right? Like, there are gearhead girls out here. We don't really recognize you, but quite frankly, some of us just dig cars. I was a car nut. When I was a kid, I had a high-rise handlebar, Huffy bike. I didn't have a Schwinn because we couldn't afford it, but we had the Huffy from Kmart. You know, it was awesome. And I would ride that bike. I set up an autocross on my street. My neighbors hated me, thought I was crazy. I'd put paint cans in the street. You know, they thought I was nuts. But I knew one day, even when I was 6, I was like, I'm gonna do this. And what introduced me to cars was that guy right there. His name was Jim McKay. And he was with Wide World of Sports, which was the thrill of victory and? Right. That skier, man. That poor guy, he died every week on Saturday. We watched that guy die. But I knew one day, I didn't know how I was going to do it. We didn't have any money. I couldn't afford to go to school. But I knew I wanted to go to college. So I decided, as I was watching TV, I watched Sebring, because ABC Wide World of Sports brought all this to me. I lived in Pittsburgh. I was in a rural place out in the middle of nowhere. But I saw people like Alan Grant and Bob Bondurant, and you name them all, and Carroll Shelby, and the whole thing, and watching them race Sebring when all that water was coming in. And, we watched that live, and we watched the Holy Grail of all, Le Mans, right? Like, they took us there. They also took us to Talladega and lots of Daytona and all this stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna do this. My brothers were out playing football, but quite frankly, on Saturday afternoon, my mom's like, what the hell are you doing? What's wrong with you? It's like, I don't know, I have the car gene, I wanna be out there. So I knew I was gonna do it. So I couldn't afford to go to school. This is me, and Ken, I'm stationed at Shepherd Air Force Base in Texas because I joined the military in 1976. I was like, they will give me the GI Bill, and I can go to school. How many of you want 4 years? I'm in. But I was a gearhead. So I knew how to turn wrenches, and they're like, yeah, you ever hear of Title IX? Okay, so Title IX had recently passed in 1976, and they were trying to find women that had some clue about how to turn a wrench. And like anybody that was a warm body and that could turn a wrench and kind of got it, they're like, do you want to be a mechanic? I'm like, will I get the GI Bill? Yeah. I was like, I don't care, sign me up. So next thing I know, I'm working on planes. Not only did I work on, and by the way, George Dalton, Mr. SR-71, okay, I worked on the tankers that were in support of SR-71s originally. But after that, I worked on B-52s. I was a crew chief on B-52s for like 6 years. I had no idea what I was doing going in. Next thing I know, they're like, here's the logbook, do the things. And I'm like, I'm happy. Anyway, it was a great career. I stayed in 9 years, but in 1985, they came out with a use it or lose it for the GI Bill, or you had to use this other thing. I'm like, I'm really digging it, and they're sending me to Okinawa, and I'm going to the Philippines, I'm flying all over, but I got out. Hopefully this will change. While I was in, one of my crew chief friends on Saturday afternoon said, hey, I have a stock car, and I'm racing dirt track at Merced. I was in California, I was in Central Valley. He's like, do you want a stock car race? And I was like, well, I'll come down and help you. Next thing I know, I'm in a car, that's my first race car, that's me. That's me and my daughter. And my husband. It was a total, do you know what a POS is? This was a POS of all POSs. It was a 1970 Olds Cutlass 442 that a guy literally had, this sounds so Shelby-like, but it literally was on a chicken ranch in Dos Palos, California. I went out and picked the thing up, hauled it home. It was my holy grail, happiest race car I ever owned. I was like, I have a race car. No idea what I'm doing. And you know what they say, Richard Branson, okay? One of his famous sayings is, if you don't know what you're doing and you really want to go do it and somebody offers you just say, yeah, and then go figure it out. You don't have to know, I had no idea what I was doing. It was a shit show, believe me. Look at me. We didn't know what we were doing, but what I knew was I had a race car. And I was out there doing what everybody dreamed of doing. So later on, my friend, T.C. McNett, this is crazy. He's like, hey, you want to go wheel-to-wheel racing? And at this point, I'm talking way fast forward. I'm now turning 50. I'm 49 years old. I've been doing all this other crazy stuff. He's like, why don't we go back wheel-to-wheel racing? And he brings me that damn DVD, that FFR DVD, throws it on the dash of my car. It's all your fault. He brings me this DVD, and he's like, we can get Cobras. I was like, really? Like, isn't that like $1 million? Like, they were like a lot of money. And he's like, no, we can like build them ourselves. So my friend TC totally turned me on to these. And he actually bought one at Barrett Jackson in Phoenix. He brought it home. And okay, so I'm 5'3". He's like 6'2". He couldn't fit in the car. He was like, Karen, you gotta come over and drive this car. It's in my driveway. And I'm like, really? Now? He goes, yeah, and I can't fit it. And I'm like, I'm in. So I drove his car before he did. This car, actually, I found in Grassroots Motorsports magazine. It was owned by Tim Sharp. Yeah, Tim Sharp, God bless you, Tim. He was the editor, one of the editors of Grassroots at the time. And I think it was a collaboration between Factory 5 and Grassroots and Gordon Levy, probably. They had built it and raced it for a year. Spencer won the West Coast Championship with it, and then they just threw it up for sale. That car was $27,000. And I was like, and this was like 2005, and the stock market was going crap, and my 403 was like going to crap. So I told my husband, I'm like, I'm pulling money out. He's like, no, you're not doing that. I'm like, yeah, I am. And on my 49th, turning to 50th birthday, I drove to Phoenix, and I gave Tim Sharp $27,000, and I brought that thing home. And I still have it today. I love that car. Love that car. Now, let's see, can I make it work again? Or maybe Adam can make it work again. Adam, you back there? I don't know. Adam, can you bring a screen up for us? All right. Okay, so I raced that car for like a year. And it was just way too nice to race because I'm telling you, this is wheel to wheel. This is not like time trials. It's not like autocross. This is like they kick your ass and throw you into the dirt. I was like, this car is too nice. So I bought a second car. And this is the car I raced for the longest time in the series. And it was in the Challenge Series. And that's my husband, Andy. God rest him. He passed away in 2011. My heart and my soul. This guy, we were great partners. And we did well with that car. But, yeah, I mean, he was amazing, amazing guy. So we went on. This is a Cobra Bash that we actually went and rented. Okay, here's the deal. I had been racing, prior to this, I had been racing Corvettes. My husband was a Corvette guy. Any of you, and I love Corvettes. I have some in the garage, and it's great. But I will tell you, Corvettes make everybody look good. You can get in them and you drive, and they've got the geometry. But our cars, they are tail happy, they are nasty, and you can't drive them like you can. So I got in this car, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I got this. Shit, I was off the track. I'm like in the ditch, and I'm like, I suck. This is bad. So what I did, because what most people will do when they start driving one of our cars and they want to go fast is they'll blame horsepower, they're going to blame the competition is cheating, all this other crap. But guess what? You suck is what it is. You have to figure it out. And you got to humble yourself, put your ego aside, and go, this is a, 85, 90-inch wheelbase, tail happy, horsepower happy, total spring rate with 15-inch. I mean, you're going around anytime you get loose. On a Corvette, if you get loose in a Corvette, you just add more power and unwind it. This, if you get loose, you're gone, right? Anybody, who's ever spun out? Anybody? Yeah, see? You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. So what I did was I decided that, you know what, Karen, you can whine about the competition, you can say all the things you want to say, or you can get your ass to work. So I put myself to work. And I went to the track. In 1 year, I did, I kid you not, 200 track events. I took work off. Of course, people were like, where's she going? I'm like, I'm at the track. I went to Phoenix. I rented Thunder Hill, put on track events. But I put myself in the seat every single chance I could get. And guess what? I got better. And I learned from people, and I put my ego aside. So, oh, by the way, I learned from this guy. Does anybody ever hear of Lynn Park? Mr. Cobra? That's my favorite picture of him. That's at Willow Springs. He puts on events there. I went to every Willow Springs event. I asked every Cobra driver I could find. I made friends with Alan Grant. I made friends with anybody who could find. Help me, help me, help me. And this is me at Mid-Ohio in 2008, and I started doing endurance racing. Because if you really want to learn how to drive a car, go sit in it for 3 hours at night in the rain. You'll learn how to drive a car. Guaranteed. This is us in my Cobra, nighttime. I also started doing events with other people. I put myself in any car I could find. And this was Team Diva Speed with Donna Gilio and Lori Fernandez and Shay Holbrook back in whatever, it was like 2007, 8. This was my garage. I didn't have a big shop. This is TC, my husband Andy, and some of you might know Ed Boothman. Ed Boothman would come out to my house and stay for weeks, and we would hang out. And this is me. I'm coming home. I was a principal at the time. I just got done at work, and I come home, and honest to God, Ed Boothman and Andy, they weren't even working on it. You know what? They had a TV in the garage. You know what they were doing? They're watching Dancing with the Stars. I'm like, what the hell? So I'm like, what the hell? All this stuff's going on? Yeah. I love Ed Boothman. This was out at Miller Motorsports Park, and some of you might know Mark Doherty. Mark Doherty made a big difference in my life. Mark Doherty was there for us at the 25. Factory 5 fielded a team. We teamed up. We partnered. I've done the 25 hours 9 times, 7 times with my own team. And I tell you, you get really good when you're doing these big endurance races. You learn how to do logistics and deal with all kinds of stuff. It was just total fun. Well, so finally, this is my grandson. I finally won a championship because I was like, you cannot suck forever. And this was my first championship, and my grandson was probably, I think he was right around 2. And this is one of my favorite pictures ever. This is a button willow in like November of. But then I decided I really want to play with coupes. If you are a Daytona coupe fan, I am. I'm an addict. And I just switched to coupes. And they're amazing. That's the car we call affectionately the Warrior Queen. We did a ton of endurance racing with that car. It was, we're talking real deal stuff. We've had all kinds of things happen. But I'm super lucky. And we have 25 people. If I called them right now and asked them if they want to come, they're all volunteers. You want to come out? And yeah, they're all there. Because they want to do something that's even bigger than themselves. They're like, yeah, I want to be part of that. I want to do it. It's super cool. If you ever get a chance, this is just part of them. It's just, I am the luckiest person. All these people came there on their own dime. It was awful. That was the year it rained, mud, awful. We had so many wrecks. Cars came in on the hook, torn apart, and we finished. And we finished well. We did great. So, and in 2011, we actually won the Endurance Racing Championship with that car, with that team. And they were just, I'm so grateful to those people. They gave everything. It was really awesome. And then I got to have fun at the Valley of the Fire. I know, Dave, sorry to embarrass you. I have had, our cars, all of you know this, our cars bring so much joy to us. If you are not out there driving your car and enjoying it, I don't even know why you even have it. So let's get out there and go. Honestly, I'm like, all my cars are just road warriors. But one year at SEMA, Dave asked me if I'd bring my car up, kind of like as a backup. And we were out doing, I talked to Honey Badger today. This is the coldest he's ever been. It was November, whatever. And we were out in the Nevada desert, and we needed to be there at 4:30 in the morning. It was like frosty, and it was a Hot Rod Magazine shoot, and we took all the cars out there, and we had a blast. It was great. It was awesome. I've got to meet Pete Rock. He's become a good friend. He totally digs the fact that we're doing, the racing thing. He is really still involved. Him and Craig Breedlove, they're building a 1,000-mile-an-hour car. It's like amazing. He is an amazing man. I'm humbled to even say I know him, quite frankly. And this is one of my favorite pictures. This is him. And by the way, those of you who are LS haters, Peter Brock has an LS in his Daytona coupe. I'm sorry, I'll just leave it at that, okay? It's what he runs. Sorry, it's true. But I'm going down the corkscrew at Laguna Seca at the 2012 Rolex, and he's right next to me giving me the thumbs up. I'm like, okay, I've arrived. I don't even have to live anymore. I'll just take a last breath right now. It's pretty good. And then I figured out that I don't really want to do this wheel-to-wheel sprint racing anymore. It's pretty tough. And at my age, I'm now getting Medicare. I started doing endurance racing. Not endurance, vintage racing. So 4 years ago, I was able to secure one of the prototypes of the Gen 3 R model coupes, and that's what I race now. So this is my current race car. I'll be racing in Seattle next weekend with the vintage people. Have any of you ever heard of Old Yeller or Old Yeller 2? Okay, well, Ernie Nagamatsu and Jimmy Shine, if any of you even know who those are, Ernie owns he's coming up. And so I'm pitting right with them, which is gonna be super cool. And this is my car a couple years ago at Pacific. But I just wanna leave you with this, and I'll try to go through this quickly. I know you're done with this probably, but in 2018, because people started doing stories on there, like, you're really weird, I'd like to do a story on you, So Driving Line called me, and they just did an interview with me on the phone. And then they published this article. And when it came out, they titled it, Cars Are Good for People. And I'm like, where did they come up with this? And then I got thinking about it. And the truth is, I say it all the time. Cars are our cars, and cars in general are good for people. I have talked to so many people. Dave's really honored me with letting me go to SEMA every year for many years. And I talked to so many people. We're at a car show. Guys and girls that are like 50, 60, 70 years old, and they're talking about their car, they're 16 again. And their eyes light up, and they just have this zest for life. Or maybe they've been a veteran somewhere, and they're really suffering from PTSD or a loss of a family member. They can go out and their car is part of their heart. And I truly believe that cars are good for people. Our cars are good for people. If you were out there today and you watched those charity rides, cars are good for people. If you saw those faces, and some of you were good enough to do that, I've gotten active with SEMA, promoting women. I was very lucky to do a show on Detroit Muscle. We built a wonderful car, a little 427. It was awesome. And Joe Coddington really is my sister from another mister, and Sherilyn Westridge, and they're really awesome. Nan Gelhard, she's like the head of marketing for Summit. She's like a total gearhead. These are all friends. This is my friend Arlene Gregerson driving my car in the middle of Utah. And then I take my car everywhere I can and I put kids in it. And I hope you do the same thing. I always say opportunity really dances, because people go, you're so lucky. I'm like, well, yeah, but I've been out there doing it, and you're doing it. So all these things I've gotten to do, Bogey Latiner, All Girls Garage, we built a wonderful truck with her. I mean, it's like amazing. Shift Up Now, this is a group that I've helped mentor. We do Girl Scout stuff. This is my SEMA sisters, Marla Moore and Teresa Contreras, and God rest her, Jessie Combs. Some of you anybody know who Jessie Combs is or was? Yeah. Like, come on. She's amazing. I got to be with my friend Marissa Campbell, DeRosa Campbell, and Chip Foose restyled her Superformance. And by the way, I know most of you know I'm a Factory 5 person. It's what I can afford, and they're awesome, and they drive like nothing. I mean, it's like amazing. But honestly, there's so many. I'm non-denominational about our cars. I love them all. I'm sorry, if I win that Hurricane, you trust me, I'm gonna be happy. So I got to go to the Indy 500 with, Lynn St. James, and there's Jessie, and I mean, it's just amazing. I've gotten to do so many things. This was a picture, that's Jessie, and that's me and Tegan Hammond, and this is at Indian Speedway. It's like one of my favorite pictures ever. I've gotten to do all this stuff. I got to actually sit in Dick Smith's car. I mean, that's like holy grail right there, sorry. I mean, all this stuff has happened, but it's really all about the people. And like, I would go back. These are my cars now. I'll just quickly tell you, I have herded cattle in Wyoming. Any of you active on the forums, like any of the forums? The forums are the greatest connector. And before we had some of this other stuff, I was always on the forums, and I got hooked up with the Utah Cobra Club, and I started doing adventures with them. These are pictures from us last week. And we went to Bryce Canyon. We did almost 800 miles out in the Utah Netherlands. And I was able to take, that little boy you saw in the picture? He's 13 now. And I took him with me on our very first run. This is Bryce Canyon, and this is him. And he went with me. It's like so cool. I'm like, this is like awesome. These are my friends, Roy and Arlene Gregerson from Utah. This is us. This is us. Yeah, this is us at Fish Lake at 10,000 feet, and we were at Bryce. I mean, it's like amazing. So I just want to leave you with this. The keys to a happier life: do things for others, give back, connect with people, take care of your body, live life mindfully, know what you're doing, think about your purpose in life, keep learning new things, because always that's just so good. Direction, have goals, have something every day to get up for. Find ways to bounce back when crap happens, right? Crap's happened. Anybody have stuff happen? I could tell you stories, Some of you know them, okay? Look for what's good. Eliminate negativity in your life if you can. Really be comfortable with who you are, own who you are, and step forward every day. Be part of something bigger than yourself, and that's what you're doing. And I'm so proud to be part of this amazing group. And as my friend Jessie would say in the end, and God bless her, if she hadn't gone and done what she was doing when she, was taken from us, she would have regretted it. She was doing what she loved. So I say to you, thank you. Thank you for having me.